Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is BJ O'Reilly. BJ has worked with Sage Software Solutions for over 25 years. He began as a Sage 100 consultant and launched Information Systems Management, ISM, in 2001. He served as the president and principal at ISM for 17 years until the company was merged with SWK Technologies. And in 2018, now BJ serves as the chief technology officer at SWK and manages the secure cloud hosting practice, delivering the benefits of infrastructure as a service and cloud application hosting to SWK's software clients. Welcome to the Sage Advice Podcast, BJ O'Reilly.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, first off, BJ, why do you do what you do?
Well, most of it's been just related to technology. I mean, I do what I do because of the interest in the technology, the evolution of the technology, and I've enjoyed it over the years. And I saw that in the ERP world. So while ERP wasn't advancing dramatically, everything else around it was, right? So we had the ability to jump in and really kind of bridge gap that piece of technology so that the ERP world could keep up. So it's been one of those exciting adventures. So while debits and credits remain the same, the technology around debits and credits changed dramatically. And so I was able to jump in and move through solution after solution to really help our customers and partners with those technology changes.
And let's talk a little bit about that in specific. And before we started recording, you mentioned that on a weekly basis, you're dealing with customers who have a ransomware issue. First off, for those of you who have not been purged, or I'm trying to come up with the right word for this, subjugated to ransomware, what is it? And explain a little bit what you can do about it after it happens. But even more importantly, let's talk about what you can do to prevent it. So first of all, what is it?
Well, ransomware is, so most people think that in the world of cyber terrorism that somebody's looking to get into their system, and ransomware isn't that at all. Ransomware is opportunistic. So you click on something, you download something, and in most cases it sits there, it doesn't do anything. So it can sit there for weeks and just think about when it's ready to launch. And so, and what it does is it's an ability for somebody or something to take your data and hold it hostage. So, right, so they're going to encrypt it, and then that product's going to require you to pay some form of money, and you hope that they unencrypt it and that you get your data back. And then in most cases, you don't always get your data back, and as our customers have learned. So, as I say to most people, ransomware isn't something looking for you. You're actually looking for it and actually stumble across it most times. And because we exist in this ERP world, we're typically doing a lot of exchange. So we are moving data in and out, files, invoices, everything else. And there's so many potential places for it to hide that it just seems to creep in. And now it's become much more targeted, especially in the ERP community, to products like Sage 100, Sage 50. And, that it just happens. One morning you wake up, and what we've even found is now they're even opportunistic on a weekend. So most of it won't start encrypting until Saturday when nobody's on their system, and they come in on Monday morning to discover that they no longer can get into their applications. So it's a big problem, and it's just simply something they're waiting to happen. So as I tell people, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So when ransomware will happen. So.
And I'm just really curious about this. I know almost nothing about this other than what you've just described for us. Typically, how much do people ask for? What's the ransom? Is it millions of dollars, which is unreasonable, or do they try to target it so that it makes sense for whatever company they've gone after?
Yeah, that's a good question. So ransomware people don't know you. When they see a ransomware attack happen, the receiving it or the other side of it, they're only seeing how many stations, how many servers were attacked. So if you're a large municipality with 20 servers, right, they can see that. So they're judging that you're going to pay more You're one where they just see one single server attacked, then they're going to judge that to be less of an impact. So it can range anywhere. It can be $4,000, it can be $400, or it could be, in the case of one of our clients, they were asking for 100 grand. So and they had 14 servers attacked. So they know based on quantity, and they judge it from that. And then what ransomware happens is now starts the negotiation. So you're not wanting to pay that. You respond back, and so they negotiate. So they're sending back a response saying, we'll cut it down to 50,000. So it goes back and forth. So you're hoping you get the unlock key to unencrypt your files. And in some cases, we've had dozens of customers, and of those that have paid, half of them got the encryption key, the other half lost their money. So it's a big risk. So mitigating the risk is it's a better investment than what you're going to pay, and the potential of getting your data back.
And talk a little bit about that. What are some of the best risk mitigation techniques?
Well, I think the number one thing you see is backup, right? So everybody talks about backup. So, and case in point, we have a customer that 2 weeks ago was attacked by ransomware. They came back to their backup, went back to their MSP, and discovered their backup hadn't been working for 6 months. So a lot of that is really based on backup. So there's different technologies that have come into play. Datto, other kind of backup technologies that allow you to store in the cloud. The other thing is, in most cases, people store their backups on premise, and ransomware, it doesn't just attack one thing, it attacks all things. So a lot of people will find that their entire backup has been encrypted as well. So then you don't have a restore strategy for that. So, but that's your number one place, right? So do backup. It's not antivirus, it's not ransomware software, it's your backup. And you can't have backup in a single location anymore. It must be, a multifaceted or a multi-location type situation, whether it's stored in the cloud, stored at your house, wherever you want to pick. It's going to be better than being at that single location.
And where does infrastructure as a service play into this?
So infrastructure as a service is the ability to migrate your current on-premise world up into the cloud. So you are no longer buying servers on premise, right? So you're going to buy a server on premise, or servers in most customers' cases. Instead, you're coming to somebody like Secure Cloud, and you're now renting that infrastructure. So you're coming back and saying, "Hey, BJ, I need 4 servers. They're going to be up in the cloud, and I want to now connect those to my on-premise world," which we can do. And now I no longer have to manage that. I don't have to worry about backups in infrastructure as a service. I don't have to worry about storage. I don't have to worry about processors. I don't have to worry about upgrading my equipment. I don't have to worry about OS licensing. All of that is all encompassing in an infrastructure as a service type situation. And a lot of times people want to compare an infrastructure as a service quote to an on-premise quote, but they're not the same. We're multi-cloud capable, we're disaster recovery capable. There's all of these benefits in the background that are are not translated onto a quote or a server on premise like they used to be. So we have to be very educational with infrastructure as a service. You have to talk about the benefits of where those pieces fit in disaster recovery, backup strategy, disaster recovery, and all of those pieces as part of infrastructure as a service. So, and it's a term a lot of people are not used to. They're used to Amazon, AWS. They hear that all the time. They hear Azure. Those are infrastructure as a service environments, right? So those type of pieces, but they cater to the masses instead of to the small to medium sized businesses, where we're educating them and hand-holding them and helping them get up there and understanding it. So there's a big difference in each of those infrastructures.
Cool. And I guess in addition to also being more ransomware proof as well.
Ransomware proof, as you talk about ransomware more, we have a client we had that we were managing their infrastructure in Amazon. and they were infected with ransomware. So even though you're doing Amazon or Azure, does not make you ransomware proof. That requires a vast amount of other pieces to really put that in play. So, leveraging things like we leverage cybersecurity, which requires what we call a SOC, which is a security operations center, and those are staffed by people. So cybersecurity can't just be a piece of software; it also has to be people, because interpreting that. And we're leveraging more artificial intelligence as we get into it more, but that's not quite where we're not all the way there. So there's other components to that to make things more ransomware proof than just pieces of software. So.
And BJ, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
So my hero is always been Bill Gates. And two reasons is one, the philanthropy that Bill Gates does is an important aspect, right? So, you make all that money, then what do you do with it? The idea that he's a technologist at heart, he's all about technology and leveraging that technology, but also advancing that through other things like medicine and everything else. So he's always been one I've just been amazed by overall. So definitely Bill Gates is the big one.
And lastly, BJ, how can somebody contact you?
So I'm easy to contact. I'm bj.o'reilly, OREILLY at SWKtech.com. And that if you need a reference to that, it's the same as O'Reilly Auto Parts, so spelled exactly the same way. So bj.o'reilly at SWKtech.com. Happy to answer any questions and explore options with anybody.
All right. And we also have a free offer for the SWK's hosting services. You can get that in the show notes. BJ O'Reilly, the Chief Technology Officer at SWK, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Advice podcast.
Thank you, Ed.
For more Sage Advice, visit and subscribe at sageadvicepodcast.com.